We will first check the URL response in a web browser for any location. Then, we will copy the received response and put it in a JSON link for proper formatting. We will then call async task inside the onCreate method with the formatted weather URL. As we already know, we are calling the service asynchronously. This means that the application's main thread or UI thread is not waiting for the service response. When the UI thread gets the response, the application will parse the response and update the UI. When we get a response on the onPostExecute method, we will need to parse the response string. Sometimes we will receive some errors due to an invalid URL or any other unknown errors. In such a case, the application will throw an exception and we can cancel that request in those exception blocks with the native cancel method. We can override the onCanceled method. In this method, we can hide the progress and show an alert to the user, stating that an unexpected error has occurred. We will now create the UI for the WeatherNow fragment class. We need this UI for showing the current weather details. We have added all the UI elements in the WeatherNow UI, which will show the required weather information. This is the current date and day component showing today as the day and name of the day. This one is the weather icon image representing the current weather. This is the current weather description. This is a view to show a horizontal separation line. We have also added text view for temperature value, temperature label below temperature value, humidity value, and humidity label below humidity value. We will again add a view for a separation. We will now add text view for wind speed value, wind speed label below wind speed value, pressure value, and pressure label below pressure value. Finally, we have added a few views for the remaining separations. Now our UI is complete. We can parse our current weather data response and update the UI. This is the JSON response. Here, if we check, we have received a response code available with the COD key. If the response is a success, we will get a response code of 200. The response code is determined by the server, and usually, for a successful response, the response code is 200. If the response code is a failure, we will get some other error codes. We have received a response on the onPostExecute method. First, we will hide the progress dialog since we have received the JSON response. We will need to check whether the JSON string is a valid string and create a JSON object with that response string. We are adding a constant for the success response. We will check the response. We will parse the JSON response only when the response code is valid and equal to the success response code. If the code is not a success response code, we will show an error alert to the user. If the response is a success, first we will show today's date and day on the upper left and right sides of the WeatherNow screen. We now need to show the weather icon image. From the response, we will get a code for the icon image. A URL is already available for downloading the weather image. We will need to launch a web browser and visit the following URL: openweathermap.org/img/w. We need to enter this URL in the URL bar of the web browser. In the JSON response, the image icon code is this one. We need to append this code to the URL. Finally, when we refresh the page, the weather icon image is shown. On the next slide, we will download the weather icon image. Let's now check the response. In the response, there is a JSON array with weather as a key. We have only one JSON object inside the array. In that JSON object with the icon key, we will give the icon image. In the parse response area, we will take the JSON array with the weather key. In the array, we have only one JSON object. We will access the JSON object at the 0th position and get the icon image with the icon key. We will first check whether the icon code is a non-null value or a valid one by checking its length. Then, we will form the URL with that icon code. There is a library called Picasso available in Android Studio. We can use this library to show the weather icon image. To add an image, we need to navigate the project structure window and select the Dependencies tab. To add the image, we need to click the plus button on the right side and select Library Dependency. Search for Picasso. Select the available Picasso library and click OK. We will now check the library's folders and find that the Picasso library is now available. This change is now added in the build.gradle file as a dependency. On the next slide, we will learn to parse the response. We now need to form the image URL with the icon code. We need to take the image view object and use the Picasso library to load the image URL into the icon image. Let's now check the response. In the response, there is a JSON array with weather as a key. We have only one JSON object inside the array. In that JSON object with the icon key, we will give the icon image with the description key. For other parameters, such as temperature, with the main key, we will get a JSON object, and inside that object with the temp key, we will get the JSON string for a temperature value. The temperature from OpenWeatherMap API, we will get the value in the Kelvin unit. We will use the value of -273 to convert it to degrees Celsius since our application shows the temperature in degrees Celsius and Fahrenheit. We will now write a method called getUpdatedTemperatureValue for getting the temperature in the selected unit. Inside this method, we will get the selected unit that is stored in shared preferences and according to that, convert it into degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. Similarly, we can access all the required values. All information is now parsed, and we have finished updating the UI. On the next slide, we will run the app and see the results. Let's now run the app and view the results. The app has fetched the current location. We will select a different location. As shown, the app has parsed the current weather details for the selected location. If we press the back button and select any other location, the weather information for the new location will be loaded. This brings us to the end of our discussion on fetching the current weather details for a selected location.